to come up to the front, take the mic and just share with the room what your idea is for a discussion that you'd like on the session. If for whatever reason you don't want to start up here, send someone else. Give it to me, I'll write it down. So do you want to sort of form an orderly queue? What you're going to do is stand here, tell people, oh, is that on? Yeah. Tell people your session. And then, if you take your post-it to Paul, and he's going to start sorting to make the shape of our day. Okay? So do you want to, anyone with a post-it to come forward and a bit of a cue? Wow!
If he wants to say sit you down, you can.
What's an idea?
You have to tell a joke.
Right, let me test the women. Camera skills.
You need a panorama.
I'm going to.
Yeah, give it a panorama. That's against the nature.
When each person says their idea, what would be really helpful is if everyone else, if they're interested in being part of that discussion, to just put their hands up on a kind of flag. You'll probably end up putting your hands up maybe to nearly everything, but it will just give Paul an idea of how popular different discussions are going to be, so that he doesn't put two ones that we all want to take part in the same time slot. Okay, that's all it is. It's just a gauge. No massive commitment, just, yeah, that sounds really interesting. Okay, so
I've actually got two. So the first one was how to get people to actually talk and share on Twitter, not just follow you. So when you ask a question, to try and get people to reply, just different techniques.
Stop there.
Yeah.
Anyone interested in how to get people? How to get people to talk and share on Twitter? Any? Okay. What about horses to that? And the next one?
The other one was just a sort of brainstorm of different platforms and websites that they use, like Storify, Pinterest, Hootsuite, that sort of thing, just to sort of share what everyone uses.
Okay, hands up that one.
Is that about a little bit less, was that?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Mine's very short, actually. It's easy to take the plunge, but what's in it for me? Why launch into social media? There's a recent convert, I didn't want to know a few months ago, did I, Lauren? And all of a sudden that's it now, it's mapping, so.
Okay, I'm interested in that. What's in it for me? Yeah?
Mine is related to iLeaks.
Okay, do you
It's
want
a
to
different
go
way of saying that. Mine is basically, how do you achieve your ambitions using social media? So if you've got ambitions in an organisation, how do you use social media? Can you actually? Or are you just having conversations? So you actually turn it into a strategic tool.
Have you got similar ones?
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah, my one, having worked both inside and outside, is around social media and open organisational culture. How do we go from just self-promotion or being part of the comms team to actually sharing with the outside world how we make decisions, being a bit more open and collaborative?
Okay.
Mine's sort of...
Throwing tune this morning, no?
I'm
Well,
sponsored.
that's good. I never have original ideas, do you? Go on, Game of the View was the best one.
Look into it.
What, it was something that came up on there, we said social media changed the way we work, and that's what got me to one of my standard rants. It hasn't. What's changed the way we work is the way we communicate, and social media is just the way we do it. And so that's why to that, what's in it for us? It is reminding ourselves, it's about communication, it's about talking to people, sharing ideas, having a conversation with people, not just how do you do it and the tools themselves.
Okay. Do people want us to mosh those together and see if they end up separating out later in the day? If we mosh those together, how many people are interested in that mosh conversation? Yeah, guys. Brilliant, thank you.
Mine's kind of keeping in with all of what we spoke about really, but mine was more about how to actually use social media to help voluntary and community organisations, including social enterprises, to kind of connect and share and support each other. But it's almost like where do you start to do that, or how do you plan to start to use social media? So how do you start to encourage those two-way communications? How do you even get to know what people want to talk about, and what kind of platforms do you use then to do that?
And is that about us as infrastructure, how we support
Yeah,
people,
how we
rather
support
than
other
using
groups.
it ourselves?
So rather than us just talking at group, how do you get to know what groups even want to talk about online,
on social media.
and how do we support that as a CVS? Yeah.
Okay, should we take that as a separate one then, because that's about supporting others. Hands up?
Can I ask?
Yeah?
Can I ask, just on that topic really, I suppose there's a fine line between what we do, the amount of support we offer as an infrastructure organisation, where's the line? Because there has to be a line, because we're only, you know what I mean, there's only so much resource we can give, so if that could be part of that discussion then...
Yeah, I'm managing our resources to do it, yeah?
Yeah.
Great, okay.
Okay, I've got two actually, but I felt obliged to say Storyfy because I said that in the first place.
Session on Storyfy, who would like to know a bit about that?
Anyway, doesn't it, that platform?
It might do, yeah. We've got a few interesting Storyfy, that's beautiful.
Okay.
Do you want to explain what it is, Kate? So those who are...
What is Storyfy?
So those
That's
who
what she
are...
wants to know.
How do you use it?
How do I do it?
Sorry.
Then the other one was based just out of an article that I read just the other day. The article's actually a couple of months old, and it was in Harvard Business Review. And basically, it's about before voluntary organisations jump into big data, they should get their head around medium data. So I was thinking, well, perhaps that doesn't quite fit in today, except that I think if infrastructure bodies can help voluntary organisations to kind of unlock data, whatever size it is, analyse it, and then how they use that data to tell their stories. Okay.
Fantastic. Is it linked? Simon?
Mine's fairly similar to your second one on not all about big data, and mine's I was wanting to have a discussion around how VCSs support smaller and their supported organisations to understand the increasing need they have to provide data. So I was thinking in particular around the payment by results agenda that's coming down the track more and more for people, and how do the network organisations support their organisations to understand what they're going to do, what's going to be expected of them. Does that fit in with what you're saying?
Okay, some of you might never have come across the term big data. Don't worry about that, I hear it a lot, I've got a clue what it means, but it's just data, isn't it? It's information. It doesn't mean anything, no, you don't feel better. But
It's numbers in point size 72.
It's to make technical people feel important.
okay.
SAP.
So, is anyone interested in conversations about how we share and use data, numbers, statistics, and use it and tell stories? Okay, I see a lot of people. That's my data. A lot. Yeah.
Okay, mine was a session on whether there is a role for infrastructure organisations in supporting and or enabling hyperlocal or social reporting, and whether that is a role for infrastructure or not, and if it is, what is the role?
Or anyone else want to go to that? Okay. I'm not sure. The small group of about 6 or 7.
When you talk about communications, when organisations talk about communications, it's either about gatekeeping and brand management or something else. And so when we hire people, communications people, I used to work in an organisation with a huge comms team. They were gatekeepers, brand managers, probably the organisational fascists, to be quite honest. Nothing went out the door if it didn't go through that office. Now, that was then, but this is now, isn't it? So who do you need to be? What values, what person do you need to be to really use social media well? How does that, if you were hiring someone tomorrow, what would they be like? And what would the values of the organisation need to be? And I think that's a really interesting one, because it feels like the media's got past who we might be, if you see what I mean. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you have to rethink. Hang on. I can see that with my local council. they really struggle with it. They really struggle with it. So, okay, that's all.
Great. Who's interested in that?
I'm quite interested.
Great.
Right, well, mine was inspired a little bit by Eileen's blog, and also talks about how we're all working on short-term contracts and stuff. So, like at my place, I'm Carolyn and I do Twitter. So the thing is, how to get staff in your own organisation to get over the fear and apprehension of social media, because we've just got this massive culture of, oh my God, it's online. And to kind of get over that, because obviously they're all confident communicators and passionate about what they do, but how do I get them to translate that into online presence?
Great. Interest? Okay.
I helped to run a social media surgery in Salford and Wrekin, and these have been going really quite nicely, thank you very much, for the last 2 years, but we've hit a bit of a, don't know what you'd call it really, but it's not working as well as I'd hoped, and it's not doing what we set out to do. So I'd like to have a little bit of help and support with a social media surgery, please. And that's not mine. Somebody came up with that over in our group, and I think that's a great title. Thank you, whoever that was.
Great. So anyone maybe interested in learning about social media surgeries?
No, I don't think
from scratch? Yeah.
Oh, it's a cool one.
Can you just do everything?
Well, I think mine probably links into loads of the others, so I'm not sure if it's duplicated or not. But I was interested in, because we've got so far with social media, and like with volunteer sort of projects, it seems to work really well. We get loads of response and interest. But with working with groups, because we're an infrastructure organisation, we've got member groups, we've a lot further behind with that, and I've had 1 or 2 comments of, oh, you know, member groups they're not really that interested in social media. Our particular groups, they've only just learnt to open their emails, and you know, they tend to, I'd say in the area we're in, we tend to work with people that are older as well. So it's just sort of, how do we move forward with that really, member organisations?
It's kind of similar to what I was kind of saying really, how do you start to use it in an effective way to support groups?
Yeah,
is that the same as Carolyn's as well? Or similar? Around just that general fear and apprehension, or is that more for groups and yours more for staff? Is that?
Yeah, I think that probably links to Kate's
yeah.
Quite nicely. Can we okay with book? Those together? Yeah.
Yeah, so we're looking at what is social media, so which are the best websites and applications to use, and how do we go about incorporating those and using those.
Great. Could we link that to the one that we had earlier, that people wanted to call lots of ideas? Would that be all right? Great, because we had quite a few people.
Can I just add something to that, if you don't mind? There's so much out there, and for somebody like me who isn't savvy about this, almost you know, what's the best one to use, or just an idiot's guide to them a little bit more.
Yeah, so if we do the one about pooling ideas, and people can share when they found it useful to use it.
And how we communicate that to each other, because there's just so much.
Yep. Great. Thank you, James.
And can I throw in a horizontal one, which sort of fits but doesn't? In that, outside of social media, what I would really be interested in, we've got so many fantastic experiences and people in the room with different backgrounds, is about new technologies. And if anyone would welcome an hour or half an hour discussion about how we can use different technologies differently to deliver our services outside of social media, but including social media because it all comes as one, then that for us would be hugely welcome. Because I think we need to push our boundaries, and I think we've got the right people in the room to do that today.
Can you give us an example of the kind of technology?
Tracy and I are from Staff Small and CVS. We've got funding from Nesta to run a pilot project to trial instant volunteering. Basically, you walk through the door and you volunteer on that day. We need technology to help us do that. That's one of lots of ideas. I know there's other people that I follow on Twitter who are coming up with great other ideas, and I just thought today might be an opportunity to share some learning.
Okay, show them on that one. Yeah, that's pretty popular.
Can I augment one of them? Sorry, I know this is a bit cheeky. You
Yeah,
know
the
the new platform, the platform's the software one where you're talking about Storyfy and all the rest of it. Could we have a sort of discussion about what certain social media is good for? Because I think Twitter is good for one thing, And Facebook is good for something else which I can't quite figure out yet, because I hate it. It seems to be really good for grassroots organisations with a lot of users, like Adventure Playgrounds use them really well, for instance, because they've got 3 or 4 generations of people locked into their Facebook. But for like Anchor Point, it's been awful. It's really not taken off. So I'm quite intrigued in that discussion, how do you position those software approaches so that you can think, well, that's for that and this is for this.
That links to what Sharon said. So that's going to be up to you, because when you go into your discussion groups, you're responsible for your learning and your contributions, so you can make that happen, basically. That's absolutely fine. Okay, it looks like Paul and Pauline have sorted the agenda, but while they're sorting the agenda...
Not quite, no. Does anybody else want to suggest anything else? Anybody thought of anything as we've been going round? Because there are still a couple of slots on there. Or we could all go home early and sit out in the...
Or people might have an idea during the day.
Yeah,
yes. If anybody does think of anything, then please suggest it, and we'll leave some space at the end, hopefully. Okay.
Go on.
Yeah, I want to do something about trustees. I'm a trustee in a specialist infrastructure organisation in Britain. And I think we're spectacularly unaware and disconnected from what's going on at your level and then at the front line, and I'm first more aware. And so maybe we can do, somebody would like to join me in a session to say, what would you say to your trustees if they were, ready, willing, and able, and had their ears open? You know what? Because we're all in this together, but sometimes the trustees feel a bit out there and not involved. So, anyone fancy joining me on that? Ooh, good.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. Read that, so I got into Twitter about it interesting. So, the other way around. Okay. This is roughly the structured part of how today works. So we've done the pitching. Shortly we'll move into discussion 1. So whatever's on the top row on the agenda is your options for session 1. We've divvied up the room into cake names because why not? So this is lemon drizzle, that's carrot cake, Victoria sponge over there, and brack, is that how I say it? Irish cake over there. There is no cake, unfortunately. So you can find your time and your cake area. We've tried to allow an hour for each discussion. You may not need it. We've allowed a bit of a comfort break for 20 minutes, which if you want to really get into discussions, you can use as a short lunch break. Or if you want to, lunch will be here around 12:30, so if you want to take longer, then dip out of discussion 2 or float into discussion 2 at some point during it. So the discussions will roll on, and then around 4:10ish, if you want to kind of stay and chat to people, make connections. I've done sheets that have got all your contact details on that are outside, so we'll bring those back in the room. You can pick one of those if you want to stay in touch with people. We will be going to the pub, and some of us will be eating curry tonight, and we welcome anyone to come join us for either of both of those. Because it's been such fun. We've done that. Right, so just a few things. In non-conferences, we have these just basic principles. So one is the law of 2 feet, which kind of Paul has mentioned by saying you can get up and leave the conversation. If there's 3 conversations going on that seem interesting, feel free to join one and then take your leave at an appropriate moment. Don't feel the need to apologise or tell everyone you're going, just slip off and join another group. And what you can do, that kind of like butterflies and bees thing, go and kind of cross-pollinate if you want to, fit around. That's all kind of part of this process. Whenever it starts at the right time, the people here are the right people. Don't complain about who's not here. We're here, so this is good. Telling you what to do now, sorry. You can complain if you want, it's your unconfidence. And on conferences always say whatever happens is the only thing that could happen, and when it's over, it's over. And we sort of added on that you're responsible for your own learning. So if you want notes of a discussion, you'll need to take them, because there are no note takers or minute takers or anything for something like this. If you do take notes and you want to share them with other people, please put them on your own blog or send them to us in an email and we'll put them on the VCSSCamp blog. And if you put them in your own blog, tell us so that we can let everyone know that they're there. So, and feel free to grab drinks because hopefully our tea and coffee will stay replenished and there is a water cooler sort of around the side of the reception as you came in if you want to grab any water at any point. Any questions on the process?
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Thanks, Lorna. No issues on the process. I was just going to ask a little, be very, very cheeky if you don't mind. Lorna said if you've taken notes and you want to share those, then send them either to Lorna or put them on your blog. I'd be really grateful if people didn't mind if we could have a copy of those, because I think from what I've seen so far, this is my first, so I'll say that, is something like this is really useful if we could do something later in the year or get new people involved. And unfortunately, you need a little bit of evidence, so getting the evidence as much as possible to see if there might be some pots of money out there that we can continue this kind of debate later. So it was just a bit of a plea for that, if that's all right.
I sort of work on Pinterest, someone's put it on the internet as their share, so they're happy for all to share it and each other to share it. Yeah? We're all sharing. Yeah, that's fine, Sharon. Okay, no problem. Okay, we've got an agenda.
Well done, everybody.
While you're in session one, I'll try and get something up so that you can have it on the screen as well at the points when you might need it. But that's going to stay there all day, unless the blue tack fails us. So gather around, go and have a look, and then if you...
And then we're going to divide the room, so if
yeah.
start the room, you might go around the section, come around together.
Okay, you go.
Similar rest.